If only 2021 could be as good as 2020 was for me. Damn, I will be taking over the whole world. And right away, I get it. I get it. It was a very difficult year for many of you. And in all seriousness, a lot of people have lost their lives. It was a very difficult year health wise. A lot of people have lost their livelihoods. It was a very difficult year financially. And for millions upon millions of people, it was a difficult year psychologically. I get it all, and I in no way wish to bring all of you or those people who have suffered down or criticize them in any way. This is not what this video is about, but at the same time, I can't lie to you. I can't go out and publicly kind of relate, yeah, it was a terrible year. It was a fantastic year for me. For me personally, it was one of the best years probably in a decade. And in this video, I would like to explain why. So maybe you can see kind of through my eyes, kind of develop this similar mindset, and hopefully 2021 and every other year in the future will be as good as 2020 was for me, because it was a great year. And the biggest reason why it was so good for me was because, if not 100%, then maybe 99.9%, I was prepared for that year, or for a situation, or for a scenario like that. Many of you know that I practice survival skills. I am all into preparedness. So when 2020 started to disintegrate, I was able to simply take advantage of all the opportunities that became available, because essentially my mantra is now is that difficult times bring great opportunities. And another philosophical practice that I try to essentially not just even try to implement, but actually I live it, is that I must profit from my losses. That is the highest level of performance in life. Not to profit from your victories, but to profit from your losses. That's what essentially I'm trying to do. I'll show you, we'll talk about this whole thing in this video. That's what it's all about. And I guess we will start with a video not from 2020. Main bulk of the videos, or all of the videos we're going to be talking about, will be from 2020, so we can go back and you can see, here's what I was doing, here's what I was saying, here's how you can relate. And I didn't in any way set them up. We're just simply doing an after action review of what I have shared, uploaded, what I have acted, because it's important for me to lead by example. So I'm not just talking, I'm actually showing what I'm doing, and we're simply going back in time to see what I was up to. However, we have to jump way back to, I believe it was like 2015, because recently a person, if you're watching, awesome, commented under my video. What was it titled? Don't waste your time. One of my all-time favorite videos. Many of you like it. And essentially, that video was exactly that. And the person who commented said, like, you predicted 2020. Everything is now happening. You said back then in 2015, 14, or whatever, whenever I record that video. And this or that video sums up my whole mindset. Is that the greatest sin in my household, or for me personally, is wasting time. I hate wasting time. Maximum efficiency in my daily life and the global strategy of my life is an absolute must. So way back then I recorded that video and I lived it to this day. And in that video I believe I said that, hey, difficult times will come, and those men who are ready, able, have the capability, the intelligence, the wealth, the abilities, they will capitalize on difficult times and take maximum advantage from them, because difficult times, times of struggle, bring great opportunities. Chaos brings great opportunities for those who are ready. And so that video sets the scene for the 2020, and now let's dive into the actual videos of 2020. I'll provide the links, but you can actually go and watch them and see how they relate, see what I was doing, what my thinking was, and how it all turned out. But I guess the best video to start 2020, the review of 2020, was with my New Year's video for that year. If you recall, if you don't, go watch it, but I'm sure many of you remember, it was the video where I come out from under the ice, I break the ice, I come out with a battle axe and a knife, and I say, what did I say? May power, strength, and discipline bring you everything you ever wanted. And that video turned out to be actually almost like a prophecy, because that is exactly what you needed for 2020. It set the mood for 2020. I guess I gotta start making more positive videos. May flowers, unicorns, and showers of money drop upon your heads, because 2020 required a lot of power. It most definitely required a lot of discipline and strength. Of course, you need at all times, but again, I don't deny 2020 was difficult, but it brought great opportunities, and if you had the discipline, power, and strength, then you could capitalize and actually come out much stronger from that year. So that video was essentially a prophecy. It set the mood for 2020, and that's how I entered that year. So, year goes on, the pandemic explodes. Then remember all the massive restrictions, like when the governments didn't know what the hell they're doing. Maybe they did, who knows? And the first quarantine comes up. And when the quarantine came up, everybody just really didn't like it. And I recorded a video. It was called Quarantine. Fuck it. I'm gonna swear, I know there are some people with children watching me, okay. But nevertheless, that's how I titled the video. And the message of that video essentially was that, hell, you can lock me up in a cell, in a jail, doesn't matter, in a room that is 2 meters by 2 meters, 6 feet by 6 feet, I don't care. My mindset was, and that was the message of that video, is that no matter what you do to me, no matter what restrictions you put on me, I'm not just gonna survive them, I'm gonna come out smarter, stronger, tougher, and more successful. So I essentially set an objective for myself, regardless of the quarantine, regardless of the financial situation and the downfall that started to develop. I said to myself, I must capitalize on this situation, I must read more, become smarter, I must exercise more, become stronger, and I must look for new financial opportunities to succeed. So when this quarantine is lifted, when the pandemic is over, when I will come out of it, I will be better. Not just the same, not just slightly worse, not just slightly better, but significantly, tremendously better. So I got this battle mindset, and I said, let's rock and roll. And you remember, watch that video where I was definitely ready to take full advantage of the situation. And in fact, that's exactly what I did. And you can watch the first results when I started doing what we're about to discuss. But the first results came in a video called Warren Buffett is Wrong, and how I profited greatly by going 100% against his specific advice. And so in that video essentially is the results of the pandemic, the results of the side effects of pandemic, and me taking advantage of those negative trends. And biggest one of them all, well, the first trend that instantly started to happen, and I knew I was prepared for it, watch that video, is I significantly profited on gold. I bought a lot of it, I knew what's going to happen with gold. Gold skyrocketed and I made quite a bit of money. You can watch that video. On every ounce of gold I made between $400 to $600. It was glorious. On actually gold that I purchased specifically when just early on the pandemic was beginning. I had gold before that, which I purchased at a much better price. On that I profited tremendously. But specifically, I knew that the pandemic would drive the gold prices up, and I was going to get a piece of that success. But that's actually not the biggest thing. It's great, it's awesome. But what really made 2020 so awesome for me is that essentially I discovered, or I reignited my passion for trading stocks. Stocks were a huge success for me in 2020, and they're continuing to be a good success for me. Hopefully it will also be huge in 2021. And here is the interesting situation. When the quarantine started to come up, when the pandemic started to explode, obviously the local businesses started closing, everything started to shift online, and the digital world started to explode. And so I realized, well, first of all, your mobility is limited, but the digital world is growing substantially, and I want to profit from it. Also, because of the pandemic, the many powerful and strong companies that which stocks were quite valuable, they suffered a significant drop. And I knew that I must capitalize on this unique opportunity. And way back when I traded stocks, I was heavily in Forex, and I kind of abandoned the whole thing. And for many years, for the past 2 years, I had like a check mark written everywhere, or a little note: get into the stock market, get into the stock market, get into the stock market. But I just keep putting it off. And if it was, in all honesty, if it wasn't for the pandemic, then I wouldn't have gotten into the stock market 100%. I would have kept putting it off for many years and would never get into it. Pandemic hits. I told myself I would not forgive myself if I would not capitalize and take advantage of those financial opportunities. And so I cleared the schedule, and you know what? By that time, I actually started clearing the schedule and getting into the stocks before the quarantine began, but mainly when the pandemic just started to hit us. Then quarantine, what it did is essentially it freed up a lot of my time. And so that is where I'm saying I was being locked up by our all-wise government officials. And instead of complaining or feeling somehow claustrophobic and down and depressed, no, I said, okay, you lock me up. You're limiting my mobility, which I resisted. But no, I'm going to take full advantage of that situation. Okay, you put me in a room, I'm going to take advantage of the internet, I'm going to make money in any way I can, and that's what I did. So the pandemic actually cleared, the quarantine itself actually cleared my schedule substantially for me to really focus on the stock market. I did. My money started doubling, and going higher, and higher. So actually in this 2020, 2021, I am investing substantially in new companies. Follow me, check it out. I post screenshots and other information. I will be making more videos in the future of what I'm investing, where am I profiting, what trends, companies, and so forth that I believe can make you money. So check it out, subscribe, follow me, and stay tuned for more on this subject. But that's actually the reality. And you can go back and you can see how back then, in 2020, I made those specific videos and how all of them tie into each other, and essentially proving you that I practice what I preach. What I said, I actually did. And that was one of the main reasons 2020 was very awesome for me. But aside from that, I did say I'm not going to get into the pandemic, and as you know, I made very few videos on the whole COVID subject, barely mentioning it essentially. But I do wish to essentially discuss it from one single perspective. And that perspective is awesomeness of 2020. And that is the whole pandemic, this whole virus outbreak has been, and I get it, it's terrible to say, but it has been extremely interesting for me. It was interesting to watch It was interesting to live through it. It was interesting how I reacted. It was interesting how people around me reacted. It was interesting how the government reacted. It was interesting how the elites reacted. It was interesting how the mainstream media, how everybody reacted. And you were not only the observer watching it from the outside, but you were also inside. It was terrible for many, but at least for me, the way I structured my life, the way I practiced survival preparedness, I was able to be the insider, but as also the outsider, observing this whole situation in a very detached way. And so I gotta admit, the whole year was tremendously interesting information-wise. But aside from that, aside from pure entertainment, it was an extremely educational year. And I use the word extremely to the fullest extent because right now, essentially, I got a crash course in virus prevention, or how to react or act during a viral outbreak, a global pandemic. We all experienced it, started to wear masks, started to social distancing, washing hands, disinfection, and so forth, maintaining distance. Even I was the guy who was saying, you know what, I'm not that actually afraid of the virus itself, but I was still very much into practicing everything because, well, 100% I am much better now prepared for the future viral outbreaks, but I also believe that the whole human civilization is now much better prepared for future viral outbreaks, and the future viral outbreaks, I'm losing my English, but bear with me. The future viral outbreaks will be deadlier, because if you just follow the trend, each pandemic or each outbreak is deadlier than the previous one. That's what's happening. It's amplifying. And so you got to be prepared for whatever comes next. And this was a crash course for me personally and for the whole human civilization on this planet, how to combat, how to act, how to behave during a massive viral outbreak, also known as the pandemic. And so, from that perspective, I gained tremendous amount of experience, and I believe personally, I almost want to say I'm grateful for this pandemic because it prepared me, it forced my attention. You kind of received, if not a PhD, then at least a bachelor's degree, because all of you must have been, at least at the very beginning, when it was a brand new thing, the amount of videos came out on all social media platforms, YouTube especially, discussing everything from all angles, this virus, its history, new viruses, different viruses, the way to counteract them, real, not real, what to do, what not to do, and so forth. The people started dissecting this pandemic and the virus in the most minute details from all angles, and whether you liked it or not, even if you tried to resist this entire situation, it was hard to do. So eventually we all kind of got a lot of information about viruses, about viral pandemics, prevention, behavior, and so forth. And so we are now much more prepared for whatever future comes next. And you gotta be mentally prepared for a situation that, whether man-made or natural virus, comes along that will kill 1 in every 10 people. Imagine that situation, and you gotta ask yourself, am I prepared for it? That is what essentially I am now preparing for in the future. Population of this planet is growing, amount of viruses is, and their different variations and forms are becoming more and more numerous. So you got to be prepared for whatever future comes next, for whatever future brings. And all I can say is that I am quite prepared. So that is the whole video for all of you. Lots of knowledge, lots of experience. Took full advantage financially, economically, however you wish to perceive it. Gained new skills. Another aspect, going back to the financial side and the advantages that I capitalized on. And I'm not even touching, by the way, I'm not even touching the subject of my physical fitness and my physical preparedness. I was working out, I was getting stronger, tougher, working on my combat skills on all levels, from firearms to hand, and so forth. We're not even going there. But from financial point of view, what I really wish to point out is that I am really enjoying the stock market specifically, and just tracking various companies, analyzing them in detail, because it is very good way to learn how various businesses behave. And again, not just from the stock market. To invest in a company, to purchase a stock, then you must understand what you are getting into. So you start looking into the company, you see their business model, you see where they're going, how they're going to at least profit or produce whatever they're producing or making, why that stock will grow in value, and inevitably you are getting very good business education. So I would say to all of you, even if you are not successful in trading stocks, it is still a very good way to learn about business, because simply the amount of companies you're looking into, understanding them, understanding various business models, is tremendous business experience. And that is important for me, as I'm continuously starting new projects, expanding my old projects, growing my businesses bigger and bigger. So knowledge-wise, it was also a very enlightening year. That is everything I want to say for all of you. 2020 was awesome. Got richer, got stronger, got wealthier, got healthier, got more deadly, and essentially supercharged my life substantially, taking full advantage of this chaos that this pandemic has brought upon all of us. Take note, get into the victory mindset. Remember, those who are with us, well, you will become stronger, smarter, and more successful. Those who are not with us, well, we wish them luck. And the biggest takeaway for all of you is this: capitalize, learn to capitalize, learn to profit from your losses. Learn to profit from your losses. That is the highest art of success. And so, get after it. Take care.